So here we're going to take a look at the FS guide rail system. The guide rail system offers benefits of getting a really straight cut, but also a really good quality cut with a lot of the Festool range. And also the vast array of clamping options, protractors, and also other accessories mean you can work really fast and efficient. The FS guide rails are available in various lengths to suit different applications and range in size from 800mm all the way through to 5 metres in length. Another benefit is that we can join the rails, and this may be that we travel to site and we need a longer rail, too long to put on top of a van or whatever it is. So with that we've got the two joiners. One will locate in the outside trench, the other one at the bottom, so you just put them in around about halfway and just nip them up. You don't need to do them up too tight. And then we can position our next rail directly on, and all we do is we just bring that back 1/2 mil, just so there's a slight gap in there. That's all straight, and then we can just nip those up. Another accessory there is the deflector, and this is designed that when we're working with a hose and a lead, that we're not getting that trapped onto the edge. So we can just loosen this. That'll fit just into the end of the rail and lock up, and that allows us now to position the hose and the lead in here so we don't get it grabbing as we're working with it. When we're working with plunge saws, or it could be a grinder that we're using on the rail, just to stop anything coming back, it's a limit stop, and the limit stop fits in again that left hand side trench, and this just holds in position the saw when we're plunging. It also can be set up for when we're working for certain distances with the guide rail adapter with the routers as well. So it's a handy limit stop that we can use for a couple of different applications. So we've got an array of different clamping options, and these help with different applications. So firstly, with our standard FS clamps, we've got these in 120, and they'll just go up underneath the rail, and then we can wind that up to lock it up from both ends. That's also available in a 300mm clamp for when we're working with deeper material or want to clamp thicker material together. And for something that's a little bit faster, we've got our fast fix clamps, which again position in the same way, but just crank up a lot quicker rather than having to wind them up. So they add a little bit more speed to it. Where we're wanting to work from one end, we've got a fixed clamp at one end, and we've got this rapid clamp that we can fit to this end, and all we do with that is just crank it up. That'll put pressure onto that and hold the guide rail in place, and then when we want to release it, all we do is we just push this lever here. So to fit that, just fits into that side of the rail, and then our trigger will just fit into the other side. Then we can locate that onto the material, bring that one into place, move this one up into position, lock it, and then we can clamp it using that and release it. So that way we're only working from one end with the rail, so that's another quick type of clamp we can use. When we've got sealed material like melamine, laminate, anything like that, some of these things aren't great to clamp to because you can mark them. So that's where we can use the gecko clamp, and the gecko clamp by itself, it just works on suction. So it's got a 50 kilo rating, so that way we can move material with it, etc. But it also works when we use the adapter, and we lock that one up. And then we've got the adapter sitting on there with this
this goes into our little rebate on the rail. So we just pop that into the side. That'll work up onto the rail, and then we can take the movement out of it just by tightening these screws here. So we can have it so that we can still move the rail in and out if we go into different angles and that type of thing. If we want to lock it in the one position, we can lock it down there, and then line our position up where we want to cut. Just put pressure on that, and that'll hold the guide rail in place while we do our cut. Lift it off, and that'll hold the rail all in one. So these are an overview of the clamps for the FS guide rail system. In a lot of cases when we're using the guide rails, we really just want a square cut. Maybe when we're doing shelving, cutting off a bench top, ripping down a sheet, and that's what the square gives you. So the square locates directly into the rail and just clamps up with this here. And the idea of that now is when we bring it up to the material, that gives us a perfectly 90-degree cut through the rail. So rather than marking each end and line the rail up, we only need one mark that we need to line it up to do the cut. So we can also cut that freehand, or we can also put a clamp into that. So from that side, the clamp will reach all the way into that area. So once we've set our 90-degree, lined it up, we can just bring that up and clamp it. Sometimes we want to work off maybe a front edge. This could be the leading edge through here. So the square can also be positioned up the other end of the guide rail. Again, we can locate that up. We can move that along, do a freehand cut with that. We could put a clamp again at this end, but we'd be working back and forth. So one other option is to be able to use the rapid clamp. And the rapid clamp will just sit up here and we can lock it on. So that'll go into the edge of the rail. Set that in. We can then find our square mark and lock that directly up. So it's a quick way, and we only work from one end, and then we can do our cut. Another bevel option is a combination bevel. So, and the idea of this is we've got all our degrees set out all the way around there. So if we want a certain degree, we can just lock it up on top there. And once we've got that, we've got these two little locks here, and this just slots into the rail. So it's designed so we can put it directly in the rail. We can find our angle. Or if we need another angle, we can just adjust it on there as well. It's not designed to fit in tight, because we can then move the guide rail back and forth depending on what angle we want to cut. So that's when we know our degrees. Another benefit is where we're cutting into a corner. It might be a sheet, something that we want to cut. Normally what we do is, if the corner's out of square, we'd put a bevel in there, and with that then transfer the bevel to the material and with a level through. So the benefit of this also finds that angle that we need through there, and we lock it up. So where the angle's out, we don't need to transfer it. We put it directly onto the rail, and therefore directly on the material, and that'll transfer the angle perfectly to then cut the corner angle. Another option is the guide rail angle protractor. So this can be set up onto the rail, and this is where we know what degrees we want to cut. So when it's set up, we've got a little stop here, just a support that supports the
left hand side of it, and we've also got an adjustable stop, so if we want to do repetitive cuts back to a certain distance back to the rail, we can set that up as well. So this will just locate into the middle trench again. That'll just position onto the rail, we can lock that up. When that's set, we can loosen this and then adjust that to whatever degree we want to cut, so it goes each way. And once we find that angle, we can then lock that up, and then we can use our saw to do the cut. Another option we've got where we want to do repetitive cuts are the parallel guides. So the parallel guides are designed that we can fit a stop in them at a certain width. If we wanted to break a sheet down to 600mm, we could put some stops on this end. And then we could butt this up, and it'll be 600 from here to the edge. And where we want to do narrower rips, we can work from the other end, where we can set our stops into this end to do our rips. Then the material will come up to there, and that'll be our rip from our rail. So this takes into consideration the thickness of the blade. So this will do, the left hand side will do from 190 to 650, and this will do from our 0 mark up to about our 190. So it's just where we need to do repetitive cuts without measuring.